Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. If you're here live, notice I skipped the intro. I skipped the intro on purpose. It's because I wanted to get right into this because I'm trying to help people not get ripped off by this dude. And if somebody knows something that I'm missing here, by all means, please leave it in the chat because I'm really heavily concerned about what I see here. You can see in the title, but I mentioned that there's a project, and this project is called Lockpay. Lockpay.financial. You may or may not have seen the banner on the PooCoin site. If you ever saw PooCoin's deal, of course they have where they'll cover different projects, and these projects they're saying, okay, there's something here. Take a look at this and see what you think about it. And I got to tell you, man, I am stunned. I'm absolutely stunned at what I see with this business. I'm going to just do a swag. I'm not going to go deep into it. And I want you to take a look at the project. If it makes sense for you, by all means. This is called Lockpay.financial if you want to follow along with me. And if you're curious, this is one of those cucarachas. So if you're used to my coverage so far, the cucarachas are the ones coming out of nowhere with the unrealistic APYs. This one, though, is so blatant. So absolutely blatant with what they're not only ripping off in terms of investors, but ripping off in other projects, that I had to bring it to attention and just do a high level on it because I want to protect anybody that's thinking of buying into this project. So Lockpay.financial, if you look at this dude, it says that it's got the first, quote, anti-dump mechanism. I want to talk about that in a second, but, quote, the highest paying coin in the world without the big dumps. And their site, Lockpay.financial, you check it out. The first thing you're presented with, first of all, the template for this site is the same template as Seifu. It's the exact same template as Seifu. So they already, right off the jump, are ripping off of what Seifu's doing. Now, listen, I've called the guy in front of Seifu the car salesman for a reason, because when I listen to him on the AMAs, he sounds like a car salesman. I didn't believe that there was anybody else who would come across like a car salesman more than the car salesman. And then this guy, go to that site. I challenge you, Lockpay Financial, pull it up. This guy is worse than the Seifu car salesman. This guy is the bona fide definition of sleaze. When you see this dude, he's got an embedded video. He's wearing a regular, polo shirt and then a blazer over top of it. And he's trying to emphasize to you all these benefits. He's coming across like it's like if I were the SEC, I'd lock this guy up just for his video and all the claims he's making. Because number one, he can't sustain anything of what he's talking about. I know where he's getting his numbers from. My issue is he can't sustain any of what he's talking about. We're talking flashing buttons. Click here to buy now. Click here to buy now. Do. We're talking, turn $100 into $480,000 in a matter of 12 months and 9 years lock liquidity and Pink Cell KYC. And of course, you know how I feel about Pink Cell. The greatest auto staking protocol with an ADM that keeps your investment secured and fixed APYs and best anti-dump ever with ADM gives investors security like no other crypto on the planet. Just all these lofty, unrealistic, unreasonable, illogical, silly, car salesman-ish claims. Like even Seifu didn't go this bad. As bad as I hit on him, even he is nowhere near as bad as this joker. Just absolutely dumb. Listen, quote, whales can't dump 100% of their coins. So I talked about on one of my previous coverages that I wanted to see a mechanic that would manage whales. Something where we say, you can always sell, you can always transact, but there's a limit, just like an ATM machine. I've said this before. That's what they allegedly did on this. So they implemented this function that minimizes how much you can sell to up to 5% per day. And it's based on the total supply that you hold, what percentage of the total supply, so that you can sell over time, but you can never, quote, dump off the project. Everything else is the same as, Titano and Libero and Seifu and Ouroboros and all these where it has a treasury, it has a risk value protector, a high burn. Everything else is identical, literally identical, cut and paste of everything else. And then liquidity management. And a treasury, they force you to telescam. Their white paper is a garbage Git book. So already I can tell this was literally slapped together in a matter of seconds to just say, we're here and come buy ours, not these other ones. They have a table that presents Lockpay versus Titano versus Libero, and some of the data they say isn't really true. Some of the data is kind of sort of true. Some of the data doesn't matter, like rug proof, no manual adjusting. I'll get to that in a second. So I'm going down and saying, is there anything I can give this person, this team, this project, the benefit of the doubt? The guy behind this, that guy in that video at the top, Michael Bolduc, whatever, he has a picture on the site, and he has his name is out there, and he has a screenshot of a Google search result. Now, my issue with the Google search result is that I'm pretty sure that it's been edited. The reason I know this is that if you were to do a Google search result and say startpage.com, you're going to get a whole bunch of results that freak you out, because one of them is a lawsuit from the Supreme Court in the state of New York with the exact same name, and that last name is very specific. You're not going to have very many people with the last name Bolduc or Bolduc. In the United States, it's unusual. But I was trying to figure out, okay, where's he from? Where does he live? Where's he from? What's his background? How do I know that he's even legitimate? So I did some digging. And this is not to trash him. You can search yourself and confirm what I'm saying is the truth. I did some digging. Michael Bolduc lives in Thailand. His business is in Thailand. He runs a coaching business. Okay, that's fine. But I question, okay, why is it he lives in Thailand? I couldn't understand this. It didn't make any sense. It's fine if he is Thai. He doesn't look Thai, but maybe he's mixed. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt here. But I looked at his coaching stuff. He has a Facebook and he has a YouTube, and I looked at his coaching stuff. And he doesn't look the same as any of this stuff. Like, usually people keep some semblance of what they've always looked like. Here, it looks like a totally different thing. If you go look at his YouTube, in particular his YouTube, he's this slim, trim, pretty handsome looking guy, and he's talking in front of these seminars, and it looks credible and legit. Now, if you look at him on this site and in that picture near these cars, and by the way, that Benz is probably rented. But if you look at him on this site, he's like fat. He looks like he's Ron Jeremy, like Ron Jeremy after leaving the business. And the clothes don't make any sense. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, so I'm now thinking, is this the same guy? I don't know if it's the same guy, and I'm not sure. And the problem is that he didn't link to anything else that would let me prove who he is, verify who he is and who he say he is. So I made the assumption, this is the same Michael Bolduc. And I said, okay, if it's the same guy, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let me dig a little bit deeper into his coaching. Is he good at coaching? Apparently, at some point in the past, he got some notoriety. They said he was able to become a millionaire in 3 years. Okay, so now I listened to this video that's at the top. And the video is, again, him pitching that you can make all this money by just a simple investment over just a year, and just over 14 months, he said, turn $100, and here's how the token works. And he explains the tokenomics. And he circles it around one mechanic, which is that these cells cannot exceed 5%, up to 5%. It starts at 1%, goes up to 5%. And this is how they're keeping people from dumping on the project. And he straight accuses whales of being the reason that projects dump. Now, this guy has actually been in charge of other projects. If you've ever seen a project called, I believe it's Made of Gold, that has had ads on PooCoin, he started that one too. Made of Gold dumped. It launched, I think it did a pre-sale, and it dumped, and it's never recovered. He calls that out in the video. He says, that these whales, and he has an accent, these whales, they killed that project too, and we want to stop these from killing the projects. And I'm like, okay, so you admitted that you had this project that failed. And so you start up a different project instead of fixing that one. And in this one, you openly create this mechanic. And in the video, he's basically accusing the whales of being the problem with the project. If I'm a whale, why would I be inclined to buy into your project when you just told me you're not going to allow me to sell for the profit that I earned off your project? And I'm like, this guy's got to be an idiot. So I'm looking now for something else. I go to PooCoin, PooCoin.app, and I look at the graph, and it's nothing but green. Okay, well, that seems to correlate to what he said. However, when I'm looking at the transactions, I don't see a significant amount of buys. I still see a significant amount of sells. There's more sells than buys, which seems to contradict what he said. Okay, so is that a contract issue? Is that something else going on? What the heck's causing this? So as usual, per usual, I decided to take a look at marketmove.ai. I take the contract, run an audit through marketmove.ai to understand what's going on here. Marketmove.ai, read. Instantly, I get all these klaxons firing off about this project saying that it's not sellable, it's a honeypot. Well, that's weird because I see sells, and they don't appear to be bots from what I can tell. Digging deeper, the owner wallet, so this guy, the owner wallet holds almost 80% of the frickin' supply. The top 5 holders have total 80%, and he's one of them. So besides him, so he holds 77%. The top 5 hold 81%. Just put this in perspective here. So there's 5% that's held as one of the top 5 other than his 77%. Basically is what we're saying here when you round the numbers up. That's crazy. That's crazy that his wallet in value, it's nearly $4 million that his wallet specifically holds. I dug into his wallet. His wallet appears to be the deployer wallet. That by itself is not unusual, except that what you normally would do is after you launch the project, you're going to relinquish control of that wallet so that you're not tempted to take the funds out. What it's saying is that that wallet still has control, and because this is not a renounced contract, he could easily drain the project just by dumping off the thing and dashing. Well, now I'm thinking if this guy was really good at his consulting business, so let's say he was good at his job, he really should be this millionaire. He shouldn't really need to steal it from anybody. So why does he need to hold the owner wallet? I'm starting to get a little bit skeptical. So I continue looking. Again, the ownership's not renounced. In the contract then, there's a function. I was trying to understand the way they implemented this ATM function, as they call it the ADM. There's a function called in here, and it sets a value and then queries that value whenever it runs something else. So it sets a value called is fee exempt. And what it's doing is it's saying, can this address, whichever address, do this function? So in this case, can this address sell over 1% or over 2% or over 5% or whatever? And if it passes as false, then it blocks you and throws an error to the interface telling you, you can't sell this, it's more than 1%. They excluded the deployer wallet. They excluded the liquidity wallet. They excluded the risk-free wallet, and then the burn wallet. That's normal, right? But I also see that there's a whitelisting function in the contract. So now I'm thinking, okay, so this guy probably whitelisted him and his buddies to avoid this whole sell prevention. And then at some point in the future, they're probably going to dump on this thing and leave everybody hanging high and dry. So they're going to wait for it to pump and pump and pump and pump and pump. Basically, that people will see that green candle just continue growing, FOMO into it, and then they'll do a massive dump off of it and then never be seen again is my theory. I can't prove any of this. I have no evidence of it. I'm simply going off of what I see in the contract. That doesn't make any sense for it to be in the contract the way they have it implemented and why the owner is holding nearly 80% of the supply by himself. Then we go back to that locked liquidity. Remember I mentioned they said it was locked liquidity. The liquidity pool is on PancakeSwap. It only has 300,000 of the total. So yes, there's a lock on the liquidity, but the vast majority of the liquidity funds aren't in the liquidity pool. They're still in the owner wallet. So it defeats the purpose. It's kind of smoke and mirrors. You're telling people we have a locked liquidity. It's true, but it's about how much is in the liquidity pool. Right now, it's a fraction of the total cost. So anybody that buys into this, if they choose to, if they see that candle and they want to take a gamble on it, I'm going to tell you, I think it's highly risky. I think there's a good chance this guy takes and dumps this, dumps this bad boy on you and takes their money and makes a dash. I can't prove it. I have no evidence. I'm not making a hard statement. I'm saying based on what I see in the contract and the fact that his wallet, this dude, holds almost 80% of the supply. Like I said, this is worse, arguably, than Seifu's car salesman, and I didn't think that was possible. Just in his presentation, how much tokens he owns, the way the contract's written, the way he's done the white listing, the way that he's presenting this project, he's arguably worse than Seifu's car salesman. I almost felt like apologizing to Seifu's car salesman because this guy has surpassed him in car salesman delivery. I almost was tempted to do that. This is bad. This one's terrible. Again, if you're a gambler, by all means, I'm telling you, it's a strong probability, in my opinion, this guy dumps at some point after. I think they're waiting for enough green candles to build up, and then at some point they're going to dump off. And because they're whitelisted, they'll be able to do it where nobody else will be able to do it. So it might as well be a glorified honeypot. From my eyes, that's what I'm seeing on this whole Lockpay business. So the takeaway of this is it doesn't really matter if it's audited, because the audit is a garbage audit from what I see. It doesn't really matter if there's locked liquidity because of how much is not in that liquidity pool. The biggest risk on this is how many tokens that owner's holding, and the fact that the owner can whitelist whoever they feel like it, which means they can have him and his buddies basically take everybody's money after it starts building up. There's a 5 billion supply on this. Of the 5 billion supply, he holds 4 billion of it. So this should tell you there's no intent for this to be a long term in how it's built. Now it could be, and he would probably say this if he was on an AMA like Seifu's car salesman, he'd probably say, well, I need to build it and I need to set it up. I need to get it going and get it all ready. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the way it's going down. I'm saying from my eyes, I don't have any confidence at all about what this is doing, and I'd be skeptical to recommend it to anybody. But once again, if you are the gambler sort, it's entirely on you. If that's what you want to do, I can't make the decision for you. I'm saying I would stay far the heck away from this dude, and he has arguably surpassed Seifu's car salesman in absolute scummy looking behavior, appearance, performance, project. And I'm now questioning, is it that his business that he had started failing and he no longer is the millionaire that he was? What happened that caused him to create this project in this way where it looks like he's trying to rip people off? I would be heavily skeptical of what I see. That's what I got to say about it. Lockpay.financial, if you want to check it out, it is on the Binance Smart Chain. Again, it looks like a carbon copy of Seifu done wrong, if I'm being honest with myself. And hopefully you know how I feel about Seifu. And when I say it's worse than Seifu, to me, that means you should probably run for the hills. My opinion.